Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about understanding personality types. For those of you new to my channel, I do a series of fashion and psychology videos. These are two of my passion. I even combine them sometimes. But as of late, I talk more about self-development, which is why MBTI is a big topic. I use MBTI as a tool because I have the certification and it's relatable. Actually, 16 personalities is more relatable, but I prefer the official MBTI. But if you ask me, a tool that I think it's going to give you a more holistic picture is definitely going to be C.S. Joseph. If you're already watching my video, you probably want to get to know what is MBTI and what is personality type as a whole and how is this actually going to help you. So if you have not seen my introduction video, I highly suggest that you go to the playlist and watch in sequence so that everything else will make better sense. I think this is going to be the most beneficial for your learning experience. MBTI Myers-Briggs type indicator is a framework that was developed not by Carl Jung, but the theories are from Carl Jung himself. It's all about identifying how we process information, make decisions, and how we interact with the world. In summary, personality type gives us insights to how we make decisions, how certain personality type process information, how we choose to interact in the world, and I think it's more about the way of life that each personality type has. Now, you guys are going to be wondering, how can you box so many different types of people in the world into just 16 types? Before you start condemning that, maybe you should consider the fact that there's a reason why people still believe in zodiac. There's so much about astrology, and even that itself, is really quite significant. I think maybe consider this perspective. As human beings, we just like to put meaning to things and categorize. We need to have a form of framework in order for us to understand things that are extremely complex. For example, human being and how our mind works, our preferences, why is it the way that we are, why is it that we do the things we do. So I think it's not seeing it as you are boxing people up, but more as a guide, a framework. It's kind of like what kind of food choices you prefer, right? Some people just prefer to eat more of a certain kind of food, and some people just like the variety. It's like, don't you want to understand in a very simple way what contributes to people's preferences? This way, it can help you to better understand the people that you have relationship with, that you work with, that you're speaking to. It is just, I think, I've shared in the previous video, for me, the greatest thing I took away from understanding personality type is that I have more awareness of my own personality type, because I know how to deal with my light and shadow, the different sides of my mind. Being more aware of it, I'm able to see in other people and not be frustrated with the fact that we're not similar. How is it that you're thinking this way? How is it that you don't see the things that I see? Because I have come to acceptance that everybody is different for a very specific being. There's a reason why we have the collective, conscious, why we have to interact with one another and have connection so that we can help each other out. And so, for those of you out there that still thinks that, personality is not like a scientific thing, there are a lot of things that I believe no one can just say that I am purely logical person and it's just based on facts and data. There's a thing called gut feelings, there's a thing called instincts. We are spiritual beings, and so there are things that still cannot be explained from science. Ignorant to say that understanding personality, it's not impactful. So before you change your mind, maybe give the playlist a chance. The whole reason why I'm creating this playlist is because in my professional work, I've started talking a lot about MBTI personality. I have requests from people wanting to know more and more about, their personality type, team dynamics, and therefore I thought, why not record it, put it on the playlist, which is going to help my channel and spread it out there. Okay, let me just preface this. There are many creators, YouTubers out there that are brilliant and way more expert in the way that they explain Jungian psychology and the whole works of it. But I think if you have decided to watch my video, I hope that you would see it as it is coming from my own experience, my perspective, and because this is metaphysical, sometimes the interpretation can be steered in a certain way. So it really depends, what you get out from it. So this video, I just want to share the 4 dichotomies. The dichotomies would mean the letters that you see when you take the test itself, the assessment, and then you get example ENTJ. So this is the most common question I get, especially from people who are unaware of what MBTI is all about. So the first thing that I will ask is, yeah, but what does that mean? And then the second most common question is, okay, so what am I supposed to improve, right? So which is very interesting. So MBTI is made out of 4 dichotomies and it has 2 opposites. Example, E, which stands for extraversion and introversion. E and I are complete opposites. They are polar opposite of each other. So extroversion, introversion, whether your first letter is E or I, it represents how you interact with the world. What is your energy orientation? Are you the kind of person that gets more energy by speaking to people, by being around people? You always feel the need of wanting to socialize and just being around people in general. That recharges you. Another example would be an extrovert person would be, as they think, they speak at the same time, so they appear very talkative, they appear very expressive. So that is a classic, typical extroversion preference. And then we have the introversion, introverts, right? So if you have I, this means that you prefer more intimate, one-to-one, deep, long conversation. You prefer more intimate relationships, more one-to-one rather than one-to-many compared to the extrovert. You recharge by being alone. You prefer being in solitude. You love to introspect, do a lot of self-reflection, just being on your own. I think even this word introvert is being used loosely out there. Like, oh, I'm an introvert because I can't stand people. Oh, I'm an introvert because, I hate parties. It's like those kind of stereotypes. One thing about introverts is that they like to observe before they speak, which is why a lot of times you will see that they are the most disengaged and the quietest and probably the one that you worry the most, because you're like, why do you have no reactions and no responses? Like, it's so hard to get things out from them. It could be a culture thing, it could be an environment thing, but introverts just prefer to process things before they start speaking. They need some time before expressing their thoughts. One important thing that you need to remember so that it kind of paves the way for the rest of the playlist, the series, is that introversion, just treat it as, a window that is opened and you are looking on the outside. So a lot of your energy orientation when you gather things is very focused outward, right? And then for introversion, it's where the window is closed and everything is happening internally. It's inward. Now let's talk about the second set of the dichotomy, which is sensing and intuition. So sensing and intuition, it's how we perceive, take in information. When we look at a photo or a data, how we choose to take in the information, you have 2 kinds of people. So the sensors, which is the sensing, they are focusing on what they see literally, very concrete in the moment, and very much looking for things that are linked to your 5 senses. For example, what you see, what you smell, what you taste, what you feel. So it's very real-time data points. Another kind of sensor is what they experience. So in general, senses focuses on facts, details, and pretty much the present moment. For intuitives, you must be wondering why The letter N represents intuition. And why is it not I? Because introvert already takes up the letter I, therefore intuition itself has to be the letter N, or else the 4-letter in your personality type is not going to make sense. So intuition is more about possibilities, imagination, big ideas. Pattern and future is what an intuitive is going to focus more on rather than the present moment. Sensing focuses on the present moment, and intuit focuses more on the future and the possibilities. So one stereotypical example that is going to help you understand the best is, typically we would say that a scientist is a sensor. They have to be sensing based because everything they do, an experiment, a test, needs to be based on actual data. That's what an experiment is all about. And they have a very specific methodology and way on presenting why this is the truth. And then for intuition, it's, you can imagine, a leader, a visionary talking about what would the world look like if we have this device that is going to have social media, our music, be able to do FaceTime. People will say like, intuitive people are the crazy people because they have all the wild ideas. They're able to imagine things that people cannot imagine. Therefore, whenever they talk about their ideas, they sound a little bit cray-cray. But the thing is, you kind of need both S and N in order for an idea to come to fruition, in order for innovation to work. Solve a certain big issue in the world, but you do not have facts, details, or the more practical, sensible ways, it's not going to happen either. For the sensing type, if you're always focusing on the present moment and you do not dive into your imagination, your creativity to see what could possibly be in the future, it's also very hard for you to predict what people will want or what the future could be. And so I think that S and N badly need each other, and it's somehow trying to find the balance and knowing which situation you should use more of that. So this is the teaser that I'm giving you. Although the test that you are taking, it's already determining what type you are. Let's say you are INFP, you'll be wondering, oh no, it means that I'm never an S person. So stay tuned to the rest of the videos because that is not the truth. Okay, we are done with the second set of dichotomy. Now we move on to the third. S and N helps you to take in information. Then there are two functions that helps you to make decision. So this would be your thinking and feeling. So straight up, thinkers prioritizes logic and objectivity, like a chess game where every move is calculated, weighing pros and cons, the cause and effect, while feelers are based on personal values, morality, harmony, and group values of the people around them. You will see that feeling types have more compassion and they are more empathetic. Now, this made it sound like the thinking type, cold and heartless, which is not the case. Again, like I said, these are preferences. Your preference is just something that you steer more towards, but it doesn't mean that you do not have the other. For thinking type, they focus on feelings, but it wouldn't be something that they prioritize when they make a decision. Therefore, a lot of times the decision that they make will make the feeling type feel like it's brutal, it's too objective, it doesn't consider the approval or the comfort of other people. For feeling type, it doesn't mean that they are not logical at all and they cannot be objective. They definitely can, but they prioritize more on putting themselves in the shoes of other people before they make a decision. So I think this is very interesting. There is a debate, right? Even the people that I coach and I try to clarify their test report, sometimes I even sit down with them going through the questions because they needed different perspectives. I think this is the part where you really need to take your time to do the test or the assessment. If you're doing the 16 personalities, it gives you a range of answers, like how much do you agree with this and how much do you disagree with this. I don't recall the official MBTI test. Does it work that way? I think it should be because there is a scale of how far you are at, right? One interesting thing about the official MBTI assessment is that for each of the dichotomy, it kind of breaks down into 5 facets, telling you that For example, under sensing, there are different facets of sensing that give you a clear idea of what makes a sensor type. My point of saying this is that for thinking and feeling type, you really have to have a lot of self-awareness to know, are you more of a thinking type, or do you actually care more about people? This is also one of the most common thing that I encounter, where people will come to me and say, Michelle, I'm kind of like 50-50. Like when I see my report, my thinking is just a little bit more and I'm so close to feeling. So does it mean that I'm very balanced, that I'm good? It's actually not what it means. I think the funniest example that I can give you, and hopefully I'm not going to get a lot of hate for it, is that you know how girls like ranting to their boyfriends about their horrible day at work, like some bitchy colleagues and things like that. Then they start ranting a bunch of things, not hoping that the boyfriend will try to solve the problem for them. And I think naturally guys, they're just more logical and more focusing on the solution rather than just letting the emotions sit there and like be enhanced and talked about. They will instantly be the thinker and just prioritize solving the problem and say, let's find a solution. But then for the girls, they will prefer just for someone to hear them rant and talk about their feelings and not really about solutions, which is why thinking and feeling is quite interesting, because this is also where I see the most conflict in certain team dynamics, in certain work situation. But yeah, to be honest, if you're able to balance both of it and knowing what situation you should use more of it, it's going to be ideal, in my personal opinion. And then finally, we have your approach of doing things. Which is your preferred? Are you the J or the P? The judging or the perceiving? So judging is not what it stands for, because a lot of people would say that, oh, you are INTJ, it means that you judge people all the time. Is literally not what it means. Judging just means that you prefer a more structured way of doing things. You prefer to have your plans laid out in a specific way in order for you to get things done, and you would prefer to have closure rather than leave things open-ended and be super spontaneous. And so the perceiving would be the complete opposite. They enjoy flexibility, they love options, and just going with the flow. If you ask them, so where are you going to have lunch, later? I don't know, I'm just going to see what's there and just go with it. Now, I think that this is also very stereotypical. People like to make fun of the fact J people, they get more stressed out and they maybe get heart attack faster because their plans, if it doesn't go into place, they get stressed out, they get cortisol up. The P people is just chilling and being able to be flexible all the time. Now, those are extreme cases, but this is just how you approach your life, right? The judging type prefers structure and planning for specific reasons. And the perceiving type always tells me that the reason why they don't plan so much is because the plans change all the time. That's why they end up being like a P. One funny thing that is also very popular in the Reddit forums and memes is that if you look at the judging versus the perceiving type, what would their room look like? The judging type is super organized, everything is prim and proper, color-coded. But then if you look at the perceiving type's room, is just a beautiful mess. Everything is all over the place and it changes from time to time. At a workplace, you can see from the person's desktop or how they organize their files. It's pretty obvious. Even just looking at their calendar. So anyways guys, this is just a teaser to what the dichotomies is all about. And I hope that this kind of gives you a bit more insight to your own personality type and of others. You can use this as a reflection and ask yourself, the people around me, are they more J or P? Sometimes you can trigger them very easily. Make a plan and then keep changing your plan and see what happens to them. Usually the one that doesn't get pissed off, it will be the P, and the one that gets triggered, it will be the J. The stereotypes are pretty funny because actually the stereotype teaches you a lot. What to stereotype and what not to stereotype. There's a reason why there are these preferences and these stereotypes, right? So what is your MBTI type? Do you know? Let me know in the comment below. I'll be very interested to get to know. And if you have any questions regarding the dichotomies, be happy to answer them. In my next video, I'm going to go a little bit deeper about cognitive function, because this is where I think is the gold of what personality type is all about. Honestly, the dichotomy is just a surface. What is below the surface is where the most useful information about understanding types, being able to influence type, being able to know one's strengths and weaknesses, and understanding how the cognitive attitude works and the way you behave. I think that's where self-mastery comes from, when you are totally aware of why you are the way that you are. I hope you guys stay tuned to that, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.